and welcome back to another episode of Reach Your Happy with Laura. So, what a week it's been. How much has changed in a week? Aside from the changes in America, I'm sure you've undergone some changes as well. You're experiencing some sort of internal shift. There is a massive awakening happening. And it's a global thing, what people are shifting through. And what I see happening is that we, as a collective, have been operating in the mind, in the ego, versus the knowing, the inner knowing, the intuition, the spirit. And both are necessary. Let's view it as the human, right? We are human beings. The human part of us is the ego, and the being part of us is the spirit, is the God, is the source of all creation. So in the past week, the human part of us has been reactive, angry, scared, and rightfully so. But the spirit part of us, the being part of us that is connected to all creation, is kind of taking the back seat, which is part of the reason we are experiencing so much fear. Similar to when COVID hit, I had this knowing that it was going to shake a lot of people. It was going to change a lot of things in what appears to be a bad way, which turns out to be a more positive way. And I am feeling a very similar thing with the recent bill changes, that you can perceive it as worst case scenario, we're going backwards, but as human evolution works, we're always moving forward. When Trump came into office, I remember people really afraid of that. Not everybody, a lot of people though. And one of the things I loved about him was that he was so sure of himself, he didn't want to hide a thing. He was so confident in his abilities, he exposed so much. The Me Too movement, Black Lives Matter, all of that came about when someone came into power, tried to make some rules, right? Trying to, what we consider, go backwards. But what I saw that as was he was shining a light on the dark places. And I don't believe this bill is any different. I believe it's what we already know, but now it's exposed for many more eyes to see that there is an imbalance in how sexes are treated, how races are treated. It is exposing the dark that helps make something change. And so on that same topic, I was saying about the ego and the intuition, the ego and the beingness, the spirit. Our ego is something that helps protect us. So it's a wonderful tool. It's a tool that developed in our childhood years that showed us, okay, this is acceptable by society, okay, this is unacceptable. And so we learn to fit into societal norms to some degree, not for everybody, but for most, and play the role that we think is going to equal our survival. So the ego is important. It was extremely important, especially in those adolescent teenage years when our brain is not fully developed. And so we take everything very personally and we internalize most things. So we can't rid ourselves of the ego, nor do we want to. However, the ego is the thing that keeps us spinning around in the same circle of existence. The ego is, my acupuncturist explained it this way, and I loved it. So say you have a dog and you love the dog so much, the dog loves you, and it brings you so much joy. But when you get out on a walk with that dog, it's chasing after the squirrel, it's going after the car, it's bringing you all around the road, and you're just overwhelmed by the different things it gets distracted by. Now, your first thought could be, I don't want the dog anymore. But it brings you so much love. So is that really the best idea? Or is it training the dog? Is it finding a way to communicate with the dog what your needs are in the track that you're on and how you're going to go about this walk? It's about taking kind of that master role and saying, no, dog, this is how we do this. So the ego is the dog running all over the place in fear, in angst, and worry, and all of those things, right? And frustration, and then empowered, and then angry again. It's the zigzagging all over the road, chasing the car, and then the squirrel, and the chipmunk, and then, okay, back to business, okay, back to walking, okay, actually I'm gonna trip you. So our minds are doing that a lot right now. And that happens when a big shift is happening. So if your mind's been all over the place, that's a good sign that something is shifting for you. If you're more aggravated, more afraid, more anxious, nervous, judgmental of yourself and others, this is big, this is good. And I know, right? Trump coming into office, a lot of people said this is no good, and I was going, this is good. COVID happened, and I was like, this is good. A change in abortion laws changed, and I'm like, okay, I don't want to say it's good, but this is going to change the tide. It's going to, because this is where our consciousness has led us to. We are going to evolve past this point. So the ego rearing up and being being the master right now is fantastic. Thank you, ego. Thank you, crazy dog on the walk, for showing me that my ego is in the driver's seat, not my knowing, not my spirit, not my being, not my intuition, but the mind, the ego. And the ego is conditioned from all of our past life experiences. So you may be revisiting old memories, right? Driving you a little crazy. That is okay. If there's something you're like, I thought I was through with this. Well, the ego is here to show you there's yet another layer to be worked through. And we can't kill the ego. They call it like an ego death. I don't know what to call it exactly, but it's more like a transformation of the ego. Every time you have a big emotion come up, think about it as there's a younger version of me that's reacting right now. Not my 32-year-old self, not my 62-year-old self, or whatever age you are. Not your now self, but a past version of you that is almost like chipped off. It's fragmented. It's in the past operating there. And so we have an incredible opportunity as the ego is ramping up and running us all over the road to say, ooh, I can feel that big emotion. I'm gonna bring my now self to this present moment and just notice that feeling. Maybe you can even imagine a younger version of yourself, like actually do it. Sit there quietly, feel whatever feeling, let's say it's fear or terror, and you sit there and you just allow yourself to be there, and then ask yourself, what version of me is struggling with this right now? And you'll have an image come up, you'll have a feeling come up, you'll have a smell, you'll have someone else's face, and it'll bring you back to this time. And by witnessing this time, you can visit your past self with your now self, and just, again, this is all within your own head, it's all using your imagination, but I swear by this is the healing work to be done right now. You want to make a difference in the world, you want to make an impact, do the inner work, because that's going to translate outwardly. It must. It's just how it works. So say you see an 18-year-old version of yourself with that boyfriend that was just right? You feel that terror of being with him or whatever the experience is. Go over in your mind, as your now self, go over to that 18-year-old version of you. Visit him or her. Say, I'm here. I swear we make it through this. We don't hang out here for very long. What do you need? Ask that past version of you what you need. He or she will tell you. They may ignore you at first. They may feel like, oh my God, save me. You may feel, It could be anything, honestly. Just trust it. Listen to that younger version of yourself. Ask them, what do you need? You may even feel them like coming towards you. Yes, bring them in. Take them out in your car. Bring them to your home. Do whatever you have to do to incorporate that part of you, that fragment, that little aspect of you. Bring it in. Say, I'm so sorry you experienced that. I'm here now. I've got you. Let's take care of you. And I keep going here because that's where that inner child, that inner teen, that inner 20-year-old, whatever age exists, right here. We just need to bring them back home. And what that does is it takes all that egoic chatter and it settles it. It starts to shift things because you've collapsed that timeline by revisiting that child, that teen that needed your help. And then you incorporate it into your now self. And it's as if like a missing puzzle piece gets put back. And there's like, I feel a little bit better. And so you go about your day, your intuition, the soul part of you in the driver's seat, and then another thing comes up. You feel really anxious, you feel really angry, you get triggered by something, by a social media post, by me, who knows? And then you go, ooh, ego in the driver's seat, driving me all over the road again, right? Misbehaving dog that just needs a little correction, needs a little adjustment, needs some training. We need to train our mind. So another emotion comes up, you're triggered, you're pissed. Okay, here we go again. Because your now self isn't as easily triggered. It is past versions of you. So we can, by healing the past, by feeling the past, you heal it. And then your now self gets to live freely. So if you have any questions about that, do let me know. You can find my information in my bio, like how to contact me via email. So switching gears a bit here, in my own life, I have decided to get married. I've been engaged for 3 years, and every time a wedding thing would pop up, I'd just ignore it, don't want to talk about it. That is younger Laura. That is about 17-year-old Laura who didn't want to face the reality that her mom was gone, her dad was in a new relationship, and I didn't know what the F to do about any of it. So I just avoid, keep going, stay busy, exercise, take care of my body, take care of other people, and not consider my own needs. Not even think for a second that I have needs that are not being met. So this wedding stuff, some things shifted, and I said, shoot, you know what? I'm just gonna look at it. I'm just going to face it. It meaning the fact that my mom doesn't physically get to be there. And I talked about this a little bit before. So I've moved past that. I've healed a lot of parts of that by revisiting past versions of myself that felt unsupported, unloved, uncared for, not seen, all of that. That ego explanation where it's like I have a strong feeling and you go back to a point in time and then you ask that version of you what they need and you incorporate it and you're like, I got you, boo. That's what I've been doing for the past week. And in the past week of doing that, I feel like I've been making strides as far as the feeling of worthiness that I feel. The feeling of confidence, of knowing, of love for myself, of, you know, I woke up this morning and I had a bad dream. I remember having a bad dream and it was with Brad. Something bad was happening and I don't remember what it was. And then I woke up and before I even opened my eyes, I just had this thought. You know, when you receive a thought, it's not like I thought the thought, I just woke up and it was like coming out of my mind or out of my, you know, it feels like it's coming out of my mind, but felt like it was presented to me, was that we've made it through some really hard things, me and Brad. But I know this is talking to you too. We've made it, you and me, have made it through some really, really hard things. And what you're facing now, yeah, it's hard, But in the grand scheme of things, is it as hard as what you've been through the past 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, 25 years? I think not, right? Because you are more experienced. You have more support. You're tuning into this. This is a healing. You're getting healing. And so you've made it through hard things. And remembering to zoom out to get some perspective. I'm thinking about the wedding stuff and the planning and the coordinating and the stuff with people that comes up. Boundaries, all that stuff, right? I have to keep reminding myself, like that thought coming to me this morning was like, you've done really hard things before. And in the grand scheme of things, Laura, this ain't that big. So, and in the last week, I usually make about 3 videos a week, sometimes 2. And I took this last week off because I've been busy with clients. And a part of me was like, I gotta show up on video. I gotta show up on YouTube. Like, TikTok, Laura. You have people here. And then I realized, I was like, there's something off here. And my mind goes, are you not confident on video? You know what? I'm kind of over it. I don't really care anymore. Don't really care. I kind of care, not too much. Then I was like, is it because you're bored with it? I'm like, no, I really love it. I'm like, yes, I know I prioritize my in-person and remote sessions, my one-on-ones and my group healings. I prioritize that over making this content. And so I'm like kind of going through the Rolodex of excuses as to why I feel resistant to showing up here. And working on my sense of like valuing myself, valuing my time, my energy, I have realized that when I started this channel, it was really about putting myself out there, building my confidence. Okay, big check mark. I feel so sure of myself, and it's a wonderful thing. So thank you for tuning in, for being a part of my growth process. And I'm like, okay, well, what else is it then? Like, what could it be? Well, again, when I was originally producing these, I was in a much different space. I didn't really feel like I had much to say. But week after week, I got something to say. I am channeling this healing energy, providing a healing for all of YouTube, the World Wide Web. And then I was like, well, what is it? What is it? Is it that I'm supposed to change where I'm doing this? And I'm like, not loving Instagram, not loving Facebook, really don't like TikTok. So there is a thing called Patreon where you're behind a paywall and there's different tiers. So someone could pay $2, $5, $10. And based on what you pay, you get 1 video, 2 videos, 3 videos and a healing, whatever it is. And I'm like, that doesn't quite feel right. So I want to keep doing this, but the exchange doesn't feel even to me anymore. So if you would like to contribute to continuing to support me in making these videos, I now have a paypal.me, which is kind of like Venmo, and I'll put a link in the description underneath this video. And you go to paypal.me/reachyourhappy, and you can offer a contribution. It can be $1, $5, whatever you feel, if you feel inclined to do that. And that, to me, when I came up with that solution, again, my mind was like, oh, you can't do that. Oh, that. I'm like, you know what? I can, though. I'm giving people an opportunity to offer me in exchange here, so I can continue showing up in a way that feels balanced. And honestly, a month ago, Laura would be like, no, can't do that. But today, me says, yeah, you know what? That feels really good. This is my work. This is an extension of Reach Your Happy. So if you feel inclined to, check out the description box below, and again, the paypal.me, and you can make a contribution if you feel called. And I appreciate it if you do, and if you don't, I totally understand that. So with that realization this morning about, like, I've been through really hard things before, and how my mind sometimes reverts back to younger versions of myself that weren't as capable. And I have to continuously remind myself, 32-year-old Laura can handle this. I can handle this. I can handle getting married. I can handle coordinating the caterer and the tent, and I can handle all that. I can handle running a business simultaneously. I can handle what comes my way. But I can say that with 100% certainty because I have gone back and revisited those different aspects of me and incorporated her. So 5-year-old Laura, 10-year-old Laura, these different versions of me that experience such tremendous pain that have kept me in this little bubble of existence. I can only make this much. I can only do this much. I only am valuable to a certain degree. And what I've been experiencing by noticing when the ego's in the driver's seat, it's like, oh, thank you so much. Yet another piece of me wanting to shift. Thank you, ego. I'm gonna take the driver's wheel, okay? I'm gonna steer the ship now, and you sit back and you let me know if there's anything else we need to adjust. But until further notice, you just get to chill. But there's a little fight that comes up with that ego because the ego likes what is familiar. It likes that. That is its bread and butter. So me undervaluing myself, my ego's like, yeah, it's familiar. For me to highly value myself, for me to stand up for myself, for me to speak about how I feel with creating content and that it's an imbalanced exchange, my ego's like, wait, hold on. Wait, what does this mean? What does this mean about us? What does it mean about them? What are they going to think? And my spirit is going, it's okay. Thank you so much. I worked for a family for 7 years, and on the 6th year, I finally asked for a raise, and they said no. And I was like, okay. I gotta do something different then. And that's where Reach Your Happy started. So the ego screams the loudest when a massive shift is about to occur. You guys, I had zero plan to start a business ever. That was never in my dream journal. That was never in my thoughts. When I saw other business women, I never thought, oh, I could be that. Nope. Most of the time I was thinking, why the fuck am I not in corporate? I do really good because I can read people's energy. I can fake it. Why am I not in corporate? Well, my spirit had another plan for me. Small business owner, and it's working for me. So if I had listened to the rejection that I wasn't deserving of a raise, I would not be here today. I would not have the success that I do today. I'm going on 6 years of owning a small business. Incredible. So what is beyond the point of where you are right now, functioning with the ego being in the driver's seat? Unlimited potential. Unlimited potential. Anything is possible for you. If you want to be a sexy girl on a yacht, you can do that. If you want to be top tier at the marketing firm, you can do that. If you want to start doing what I do, you can do that. I teach Reiki. I got you. If you want to be a stay-at-home mom and start some gardening business, you can do that. You can do anything that you want. Anything. We live in such an abundant universe that is so willing to provide opportunities for those that are willing to acknowledge that ego, and some people call it the shadow, but shine a light on that ego and say, come on, come with me, because you are a guide for me. You are an aspect of me that shows me where I'm hung up. And when you are aware of your hang up, like with that family, when I asked for a raise, I was like, they won't give me a raise? What the heck is that? I didn't value myself. So how could they? And not that they didn't value me, they did, but only to a certain degree. You know, when I quit, the mom was like, I will be here. Basically saying, I don't know if you can do this. And I never went back. Was it my stubbornness? Maybe. I had $12 in my bank account the day I quit. It was February 1st. I was like, shoot. And then I had my client number 1, my client number 2, and here we are, 6 years later, almost 6 years later. So if you're feeling limited, you're feeling the pressure of life, you're feeling the intensity of this experience. Well, 1, let yourself rest. There's a lot to integrate. With any change that's happening, there is an adjustment period for our physical body. I've definitely touched on this before, but if you forget, the physical body is the slowest to catch up. So let yourself rest, let yourself digest everything that's going on, and when you're good and ready, start noticing what the mind is saying, what that ego is saying, who's in the driver's seat. Is it the misbehaving dog on the walk? Or is it the spirit? When you're connected to who you really are, when you're in your power, you feel love, you feel gratitude, you feel knowing, you feel compassion, you feel clear, you feel sure. So then the ego feels like fear, confusion, overwhelm, disconnect, discontent, right? These kind of feelings. So my message to you is to pay attention to the way that you feel. Pay attention, because it's guidance. You are so supported. I love you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for your generous contribution. Thank you for being a part of my growth. I love you. Take good care. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.